Hey everybody, welcome to Lab 3 Union Attacks SQL Injection. When an application is vulnerable to a SQL injection and the results of the query are returned within the application's responses, the union keyword can be used to retrieve data from other tables within the database. This results in a SQL injection union attack. So the union keyword allows you to execute one or more additional select queries and append the results to the original query. For an example, select A, B from table 1 and union select CD from table 2. The big orange plus or union select means combine or add them together or append. So this SQL query will return a single result set with two columns containing values from columns A and B in table 1 and columns C and D in table 2. Another example is table A has 1, 2, and 3, and table B has 3, 4, and 5. If you had to use the union operator, the final result will be the union of A and B, which results in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Note how duplicates are removed. For a union query to work, some key requirements need to be met. Every select statement within a union must have the same number of columns. The columns must also have similar data types or compatible data types. The columns in every select statement must also be in the same order. Determining the number of columns required in a SQL injection union attack. When performing a SQL injection union attack, there are two effective methods to determine how many columns are being returned from the original query. The first method involves injecting a series of order by clauses. The second method involves submitting a series of union select payloads specifying a different number of null values. Null in this case determines the column. If the number of nulls does not match the number of columns, the database returns an error. The reason for using null as the values returned from the injected select query is that the data types in each column must be compatible between the original and injected queries. Since null is convertible to every commonly used data type, using null maximizes the chances that the payload will succeed when the column count is correct. Let's go ahead and access the lab. Looks like a standard web application. I'm going to go ahead and click the gifts category, and you can see that there's more or less 3 columns visible. In the background, I've got my intercept on with burp, and in the browser, I'm going to flip my Foxy proxy to burp to capture the requests, and I'm going to refresh the page. Going to burp, you can see that it's captured the request. I'm going to send this to repeater, switch off the intercept, move over to repeater. Now we can see the requests and the responses. Just going to minimize this so we can see the background of our lab. Here by gifts, I'm going to enter in an apostrophe and hit send, and you can see we get an internal server error. So this is likely to be vulnerable to SQL injection. After the apostrophe, I'm going to now enter in our double dash. So it's gifts apostrophe double dash. If you press Ctrl U, once it's highlighted, it will automatically URL encode for you. And this time we get a 200 OK response, which definitely means this is vulnerable to SQL injection. Now I'm going to add in union select null and hit send, and we get an internal server error. So it does not have just one column represented by the one null. So I'm going to put a comma after the null, and I'm going to add in another null. So select null, comma, null again, and our double dash must still be in. So it's gifts union select null, comma, null, double dash, and hits Control U for URL encoding and send, and again we get a internal server error. So it does not have 2 columns. Let's add in another one. So we're going to say comma null again. So this will be for 3 columns, which is more likely what we've seen in the GUI. You can highlight this and press Ctrl U to URL encode it, hit send, and you get a 200 OK, and you can see congratulations, you solved the lab. So there are 3 columns present in this task. I'm just going to show you another way, or the order by clause way, which we read about. Here at the top we can see the first method involves injecting a series of order bar clauses. The order bar clauses is exactly the same as the null, or using the null in order to help you determine how many columns are available or present in the database. So again, my Foxy Proxy and burp and switched on with intercept. I captured the request. This time I'm just using any of the pages in the categories, switching off my intercept, going over to repeater where I've sent it, minimizing my screen so we can see both the requests and the response. And here where we've got pet, I'm going to enter in just the apostrophe again on its own, and we get an internal server error. So this is vulnerable to SQL injection. After the apostrophe, I'm going to enter in a double dash and hit send. We get a 200 OK, so it's similar, or exactly the same, should I say. And now if I type in order by 1 and then the double dash, hit send, we now get an internal server error, and we know from the previous way that there isn't one column. So now we change the order bar to 2. Remember to highlight the section, and you can press Ctrl U on your keyboard to automatically URL encode for you. Hit send and we get a 200 OK response. Now I'm going to change the order bar clause to 3. Make sure it's URL encoded. Hit send and we also get a 200 OK. So that so far means we've on 3 columns, which is correct as per our previous task. And if I change that to 4 and hit send, you can now see that it changes back to an internal server error. So we have successfully determined that there are 3 columns available, both by using the union select and by using the order bar clause read out in the beginning in the tasks notes. From here on, I'm just going to go ahead and do the exact same thing in the browser in the URL so you can see the exact same thing transpire. So pets with the apostrophe and double dash returns the exact same screen. And now if I add in order by 1 with the double dash, now changing the order by 1 to say order by 2. Now we change to order by 3, and if I change to order by 4, we should get the internal server error, which we do. Now, the order by clause is just another way of determining the amount of columns, the same way you would use the null characters to determine the columns. I want to show you something else. I got carried away with clicking and typing, so again I'm going to the pets category, and I want to show you that it doesn't matter whether you use capital letters or lowercase letters. So this one I'm just going to use all lowercase letters when I type in the union SQL injection command. Obviously it's best to mess around yourself with capitals and lowercase to see what works and what doesn't. Just demonstrating here. So the first one I did was the apostrophe and the double dash, and we returned the same things with the columns so we can see them. And here you can see what I'm entering into the URL. So we did the apostrophe, double dash. Now I'm going to type in union select null, and you can see that I'm using all lowercase letters. We get an internal server error. Now I put comma and null again. We get an internal server error. So we add in another comma and the third null. And you can see it's all lowercase letters in the browser, and you can see everything gets returned. In the center of the page, you can see that I've entered in all lowercase letters. Always try new things and experiment. This is how you learn the most.